When Elliot Carver accidentally proposes to a towering alien warrior, he ignites a galactic scandal that could reshape the universe. Bound by a psychic bond and a shimmering star puff, their forbidden love defies tradition and sparks danger. Will they survive the consequences? Dive into their epic saga. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more captivating stories and inspire us to create even more amazing content. The SS Intrepid hummed with a nervous energy. Elliot Carver stared at his reflection in the small mirror above his bunk. His heart was pounding at 120 beats per minute, higher than any pre-diplomacy reading he'd ever seen. He adjusted his tie for the 50th time, but it still felt like it was choking him. His hands were clammy. The air in the tiny room was thick with tension, the faint hum of the ship's systems filling the background like a drumbeat. Elliot muttering to himself, "Okay, Elliot, just don't screw this up. You've been training for months. Months. You're the human liaison. For God's sake, you're meant to represent Earth in front of an alien species." He wiped his sweaty palms on his pants, only to look up and jump when the voice of Miranda, the ship's AI, crackled through the speakers. "Miranda, oh, Elliot, darling, you're practically vibrating in there. If you're not careful, you'll short-circuit the whole ship with your nerves." Elliot's eyes twitched. He'd known this would happen. The AI couldn't resist the opportunity to mock his discomfort, but at that moment, she wasn't wrong. He was feeling more like a hyperactive hamster than a seasoned diplomat. "Elliot, I'm not going to make a fool of myself." "Right, Miranda. Well, you already are, darling. I'm just here for the show." He shot the mirror one last glance and exhaled. Then, his eyes flicked to the console on the wall. Zara, the towering Voryn commander, would be arriving soon, 7 feet tall, bronze skin, eyes that could make a grown man freeze in place. She was an alien warrior, an unstoppable force, and he was supposed to greet her with something appropriate. The doors slid open, and Elliot felt his breath catch. Zara entered with a powerful stride, her shimmering armor reflecting the soft blue light of the hallway. Her presence seemed to fill the room. She was everything he expected, and nothing like he'd imagined. The sheer magnitude of her stature made him feel small in comparison, but there was something in her eyes, a flicker of vulnerability, that made his palms sweat more. "Elliot, wow, you're adorable." A stunned silence followed. Zara's face went from stoic to shock in the blink of an eye. Her skin flushed, an intense, vivid scarlet, her psychic resonance visibly sparking like an electric storm. The room went still. Her hand twitched toward the hilt of the energy blade at her side, but she didn't draw it. Instead, she took a slow, deep breath. The tension in the air felt thick enough to cut. "Miranda? Elliot, no, you did not just say that. You just proposed to her. Do you have any idea what that means in Voryn culture?" Elliot froze. His stomach dropped. In that moment, everything clicked. Adorable in Voryn culture was no casual compliment. It was an oath, an eternal vow of devotion, and he had just blurted it out, completely unaware of its significance. Zara's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Elliot wondered if she might just snap him in half. Her gaze bore into him, and the room was so quiet, he could hear the rapid beating of his own heart. He swallowed hard. "Elliot, the first mean I didn't mean adorable, like cute, like a puppy, or..." The tension was unbearable, as if the weight of the universe had settled onto his shoulders. But then, unexpectedly, Zara's lips twitched. Not a smile, not quite, but something close enough to leave him wondering if he'd misread the whole situation. "Zara, your words are confusing, human, but not unwelcome." And with that, the room seemed to exhale. The moment passed, but Elliot could feel the storm still brewing. He glanced at Miranda's blinking lights, silently pleading for advice. There was only a heavy, dramatic silence. Miranda, well, Elliot, you've made your bed. Now, you have a courtship ritual to survive. Enjoy the ride. Zara took a step back, her gaze flicking to the star-puff creature perched in the corner of the room, its lavender fur shimmering faintly in the dim light. The awkwardness in the air was still thick, but it was now tinted with something deeper. Zara, perhaps this bond will be more than I thought. Elliot couldn't tell if she meant it as a threat or an invitation. The moment was far from over, but for the first time, he felt a strange spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this ridiculous mistake had just set something in motion that neither of them could undo. The hum of the SS Intrepid was deafening now, as if the entire ship was holding its breath. Elliot's heart pounded in his chest at a steady 100 beats per minute, a rhythm he couldn't escape. Every footstep he took felt like it echoed through the cold, metallic corridors of the ship. He kept glancing over at the Voryn delegation, still as statues, their eyes scanning him with an intensity he wasn't used to. He couldn't look at Zara, not after what had happened, what he'd said. The words were still lingering in the air, suffocating him. He had made a cultural disaster out of what was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting. His only hope was that she hadn't immediately called for his removal from the diplomatic mission. He wanted to run, but he couldn't. The Voryn High Elder stepped forward, eyes narrowing as he surveyed Elliot. Behind him, Zara stood stoically, her towering form still as imposing as ever. But there was something different now, a subtle shift in the air, an undercurrent of something far more dangerous than diplomacy. The High Elder's voice cut through the tension like a sharp blade. Voryn High Elder, by Voryn tradition, the human has bound himself to our commander, Zara. He has pledged his eternal devotion. Elliot's stomach turned. Eternal devotion? He'd been joking, fumbling, but this was real in their eyes. Before he could stammer out an apology, the High Elder's hand shot out, presenting him with a strange creature, small and round, with lavender fur that seemed to shimmer with a light of its own. Voryn High Elder, take the star puff, human. It is a gift, a symbol of the bond you share. It signifies the start of courtship between you and our warrior. The creature blinked, its large, liquid eyes meeting Elliot's. It didn't move, just stared at him, as though it could see into his soul. Elliot reached forward, his hand trembling, and took the creature from the High Elder's grasp. The star puff's fur felt warm, alive, as if it was reacting to his every emotion. Miranda, oh, Elliot, you've just been given a creature that mirrors your feelings. Isn't that romantic? Elliot couldn't focus on Miranda's sarcasm. His mind raced with a million questions. Was this an alien pet? A warning? A mark of shame? Then, just as quickly, Zara stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the star puff. For a brief moment, something in her expression softened, just a flicker, but it was enough to make Elliot's chest tighten. Zara, this bond, it will not be easily severed. Human, neither of us can walk away now. The words hung in the air, heavy and profound. Elliot stared at her, his heart racing in a different way now. Whatever mistake he had made, it had sealed something between them. The star puff shifted in his hands, its gentle hum intensifying, as if it too recognized the irreversible change that had just occurred. The SS Intrepid felt quieter now, almost unnervingly so. Elliot couldn't shake the hum of tension that seemed to vibrate through every metal panel of the ship. His pulse was still racing at 95 beats per minute as he stared at the star puff in his hands, its lavender fur now softly pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The tiny creature seemed oblivious to the chaos it had just helped set in motion. But Elliot felt it. Every beat, every second of the building storm. Zara hadn't said much since the Voryn High Elder had handed him the creature. She had only given him one brief, unreadable look before walking out of the ceremonial hall. The delegation left in silence, leaving Elliot alone with his thoughts, the weight of the situation sinking in like a rock in his gut. But now, in the quiet of the observation deck, Zara was standing a few paces away. The stars outside shimmered, casting their soft light across her towering form. Her presence was overwhelming as always, yet today she seemed smaller, less certain. Elliot stood by the window, staring at the distant nebula, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The silence stretched between them like a chasm. Finally, it was Zara who broke it, her voice low but sharp. "Zara, you understand now. Human, you cannot simply retract your words. What you said, it is not a mistake. It is a bond." The words hit Elliot like a punch to the chest. He glanced over at her, but she didn't meet his gaze. Instead, her eyes were fixed on the swirling cosmos outside the window, as if seeking something far beyond this ship, beyond this moment. "Elliot, I didn't mean it like that. You have to know that. I wasn't thinking. I was nervous, and it just slipped out. I didn't understand." Zara didn't flinch, but the sharpness in her posture softened just slightly. She stepped closer, the echo of her footsteps amplifying in the cavernous room. For a second, the weight of her towering figure seemed to lose some of its oppressive force. "Zara, you are human. Your words have strange meanings, but you are also sincere. That is what confuses me." Elliot's heart thudded painfully, the reality of her words settling in. He wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or terrified. She was giving him an opening, but it felt like walking on a tightrope. One wrong move, and everything could crumble. "Elliot, I don't want to hurt you, Zara. I don't know what I'm doing, but I think I want to learn." For the briefest of moments, there was a flicker of something in Zara's eyes, a vulnerability, a flicker of something human, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced once again by her warrior poise. "Zara, then learn, human. But know this bond is not just between you and me. It is between our people, our futures." The star puff shifted in Elliot's hands, its hum growing louder, almost in response to her words. His breath caught in his throat as he realized the full gravity of her statement. This wasn't just a diplomatic screw-up. It was something much bigger, and it was happening whether he was ready or not. Zara turned then, her armor gleaming as she walked towards the door. "Zara, the choice is not yours alone now." And with that, she was gone, leaving Elliot standing by the window, the weight of her words settling into his chest like a stone he couldn't shake. The Voryn Council spire loomed like a fortress, its towering spires cutting through the starry night sky of Nexara. The building itself was a testament to the Voryn's pride and military strength, an angular structure of obsidian like crystal, emitting an eerie glow as psychic energy pulsed through its walls. The hum of that energy vibrated through Elliot's bones, making every movement feel slow and heavy. As Elliot stepped off the transport shuttle, Zara led the way, her stride long and purposeful. Despite her towering presence, the way she held herself felt more restrained than usual, as if every step was calculated, each motion a careful decision. Behind them, Kale, Zara's aide and staunch supporter, walked in silence, his eyes locked on the ground, his expression unreadable. Elliot couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched by 1,000 unseen eyes, by the very stones beneath his feet. The Voryn elders would be waiting, and with them, the weight of an entire species' expectations. "Kale, you should know, human, that the Voryn are a proud species. We do not tolerate weakness. And what you have done, it is a grave error." Elliot froze, his stomach twisted. He'd been prepared for difficult conversations, but Kale's words cut deeper than expected. Kale, with his sharp features and cold demeanor, had been silently observing the growing bond between him and Zara, and it was clear that Kale didn't approve. "Elliot, I didn't mean for this to happen. You have to understand. Kyle. No, you do not understand. The Voryn do not bond lightly. Human, you have bound yourself to our commander, and now you will both pay the price." Kale's tone was as cold as the crystal floors beneath their feet. There was no room for negotiation, no space for his misunderstanding to be excused. It was final. Kale, you do not know the history of our people. A bond like this, between a warrior and a stranger from another world, it is an affront to everything we stand for. Do you think the elders will stand idly by? Zara, still leading the way, paused. Her back was turned, but Elliot could feel the tension radiating off her. He opened his mouth, but Kyle cut him off with a glance that silenced him instantly. Kale, you should prepare yourself, human. The elders will demand that she renounce you. If she does not, she will be cast out, exiled. You would be the cause of her fall. Elliot's throat went dry. The weight of Kale's words hit him harder than any physical blow could have. Zara wasn't just risking her position as a commander. She was risking everything for him. Everything. Before Elliot could respond, Zara turned sharply, her eyes locking onto his. They were stormy, uncertain, but there was a flicker of something more, a quiet resolve beneath the doubt. Zara, this is my choice, not his. She didn't wait for his response. Instead, striding toward the towering doors of the council chamber, Kale's gaze stayed fixed on Elliot, unyielding and cold. Elliot stood there for a long moment, his mind racing. The words were a heavy weight in his chest, a reminder of the consequences of this bond. But in his heart, he knew one thing. He couldn't walk away now, not from Zara, not from the chance to prove that love, real, raw, unbreakable love, could exist between their worlds. The doors to the Voryn council spire creaked open in front of him. Whatever was waiting inside, Elliot knew this. The stakes had just been raised higher than he could have imagined. The Hall of Resonance was alive. The walls of the vast chamber pulsed with ancient power, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the swirling, chaotic energies of psychic resonance. Elliot could feel the pressure in the air as soon as he stepped inside, a weight on his chest that he could barely breathe through. He had expected the Voryn to be intense, but this was something else. The hall thrummed with an ancient force, as though the room itself was alive, watching him, waiting. Zara was already at the center of the room, standing tall and regal, her shimmering bronze armor gleaming under the dim lights of the chamber. She didn't look at him, but her posture said everything. She was ready for this, whatever this was. Elliot's mind raced, his heart hammering in his chest at over 120 beats per minute. The star puff, still clutched in his hand, was beginning to hum in a steady, rhythmic pulse. It was as though it was attuned to his emotions, mirroring his growing anxiety. The creature's fur shimmered slightly, a lavender glow that matched the resonance in the air, flickering and fading in time with his breaths. It was alive in a way he could never have anticipated. Miranda, remember, Elliot, the ritual isn't just about you and Zara. This is a formal psychic bond. If you screw it up, it could have galaxy-shaking consequences. No pressure. Zara turned then, her face still an unreadable mask of stoic professionalism. But there was something in her eyes, an intensity that burned through the distance between them. She stepped toward him, her boots echoing against the crystal floor, like the beat of a war drum. The Voryn elders had already taken their places, seated on raised platforms around the perimeter of the chamber. Their eyes glowed with psychic energy, watching him as though he were an insect under a microscope. The room was silent, so silent, in fact, that Elliot could hear the thrum of the psychic energy in the air, the crackling static that seemed to fill the entire room. Voryn High Elder, human, you will stand beside our commander, and together you will merge. Your minds will meet, your destinies entwined. Zara stepped closer, her hand extending toward him. He swallowed hard, feeling the heat of her presence radiating toward him. When their hands touched, the jolt of energy nearly knocked the breath out of him. The world seemed to fall away. Elliot's vision blurred as his mind connected to Zara's. It was as though every thought, Every emotion she'd ever felt, every loss, every triumph, rushed into him at once. He felt her grief like a weight in his chest, the crushing loss of comrades, the void left by a fallen lover. The pain was raw, unbearable. Her rage, her unrelenting drive to protect her people, filled him like a storm. And then, just as quickly, it shifted. His own memories rushed in. Elliot's estranged relationship with his brother in Ohio, the years of isolation that had led him to this point, his self-doubt, his longing for connection, the emotions, the memories, they were overwhelming. It was like being submerged in water, drowning in another person's life, yet also somehow feeling everything he'd ever felt. The storm of their emotions crashed together, two worlds colliding in a mental explosion of grief, hope, love, and fear. His breath quickened, his chest constricted. But then, slowly, their minds began to sink. The overwhelming wave of emotions started to settle, like sand, calming after a storm. They were connected now, inextricably so. Neither of them could ever go back. The Voryn elders were watching, their expressions unreadable. A heavy silence filled the room as the psychic bond solidified. Elliot's fingers twitched as he felt the bond become permanent, like a brand searing into his mind. Finally, the connection broke. The room seemed to snap back into focus, the energy dissipating. Zara took a deep, steadying breath, her eyes closing for a moment, as if the ritual had drained her. Zara, it is done. The bond cannot be undone. Elliot stood there, feeling as though the weight of the galaxy had just been placed on his shoulders. The room around him felt quieter, more oppressive now. They were bound, forever. The stakes had just become impossibly high. Miranda, well, Elliot, you're officially in deep now. No turning back. Zara's gaze softened for just a moment, but the intensity returned quickly. The weight of her responsibility, as the Voryn commander overtaking everything else. Zara, now we face the consequences. The Voryn elders began to murmur among themselves, their psychic resonance filling the room like a low hum. This was only the beginning. The Galactic Conclave was an imposing structure, an enormous cathedral-like arena, where the fate of galactic diplomacy was decided. The air felt thick, with the weight of thousands of years of tradition. Delegates from countless species lined the towering walls, their eyes locked on the two figures standing in the center. Elliot Carver and Zara were alone before them, exposed to the cold judgment of the galaxy. The chamber was a sea of glowing eyes and distant murmurs, but Elliot barely noticed the crowd. He could only focus on the pressure of Zara standing beside him, her presence overwhelming, like a storm pressing in from all sides. Her armor gleamed like molten metal, reflecting the harsh light of the chamber. Her green eyes, once full of uncertainty, now burned with the same fire he had seen when they first met. Behind them, the Voryn elders sat in their high seats, their expressions grim. Kale, Zara's ever-present aide, was among them. His face was a mask of silent disapproval. Elliot could feel his gaze boring into the back of his skull. Voryn High Elder, human, you have violated our sacred traditions. You have taken the heart of our commander, and you now stand before us, demanding that we honor a bond that defies all Voryn customs. The words hit like a slap. Every Voryn in the room had their gaze fixed on Elliot, their eyes burning with accusation. The air was thick with tension, their collective psychic resonance crackling, as if the very fabric of space was about to split. Elliot's pulse was racing, over 130 beats per minute, but his voice was steady when he finally spoke. The moment had arrived, the moment he had feared yet also longed for. He could not, would not, back down. Elliot, the first stand here, not as a human asking for mercy. I stand as someone who believes that love is not bound by species, by history, or by tradition. Zara and I did not choose this bond lightly, but it is real, and that should mean something. The chamber fell dead silent. Zara, standing beside him, did not flinch. She stood tall, her gaze fixed on the elders. Her silent support was her only message. Elliot, you say it's against your traditions, but traditions can evolve. They must evolve if we are to move forward as a galaxy. This bond, this connection, is not a threat. It's an opportunity. We are more than our origins, more than our differences. There was a flash of movement in the crowd, a subtle shift in the air. Zara's eyes flicked to the side. Elliot turned just in time to see Kale standing abruptly, his expression cold. Kaio, you dare stand against the will of the Voryn people? You have no right to speak for us. Elliot could feel the power of Kale's psychic presence. His anger was a tangible thing, swirling through the room, pressing down on Elliot like an invisible weight. But Elliot refused to flinch. Elliot, no, Kale. I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking for us. For Zara. For me. For everyone who believes that love is the bridge between worlds. I ask for nothing more than the chance to prove it. For a moment, everything was still. The air felt frozen, heavy with the enormity of what was unfolding. Zara, standing by his side, took a slow, deliberate breath. The intensity in her eyes softened, just slightly, as though she were seeing something new in Elliot, something she hadn't seen before. Zara, Elliot is right. I chose this, and I will not go back. Her words cut through the silence like a blade. There was a palpable shift in the room as the Voryn elders exchanged looks. For the first time since this journey had begun, there was a crack in the wall of tradition, a tiny, fragile crack, but it was enough. The Voryn High Elder looked at the two of them, human and Voryn, standing together, united. He took a slow, deliberate breath before speaking again. Voryn High Elder, this matter is far from settled, but your words have merit. The bond will be reviewed. But know this, there will be consequences for both of you. The room buzzed with a low hum of psychic energy, but it was not an attack. It was a murmur of uncertainty. The Voryn were shaken. For the first time in generations, the elders had been forced to consider the possibility that their traditions could be changed. As the High Elder raised a hand, signaling the end of the session, Elliot and Zara exchanged a fleeting look. It wasn't victory, not yet, but it was progress. And in this galaxy of endless conflict and division, progress was everything. Miranda, well, that's one way to make an impression. I'm curious to see where this goes. Zara turned to him, her voice low but firm. Zara, it's just the beginning. Human, just the beginning. And as the doors to the conclave chamber closed behind them, Elliot realized with sudden clarity, he wasn't just fighting for his bond with Zara. He was fighting for something much bigger, something that could change the galaxy forever. The SS Intrepid felt different now. The constant hum of the ship, once an oppressive reminder of its creaking hull and deteriorating systems, now seemed like a comforting presence. The galaxy outside was as vast as ever, but it no longer felt so intimidating. Elliot stood at the observation deck, staring out into the nebula-lit void beyond. The swirling gases of the Voryn expanse stretched out before him, a breathtaking, surreal vista of vibrant blues and purples. His mind, however, was not on the nebula. It was on the meeting with the Voryn elders, and what it had meant for his future with Zara. The words of the High Elder still echoed in his head. There will be consequences for both of you. He didn't know what those consequences would be, but he could feel the weight of them. The stakes had never been higher. His thoughts were interrupted by the quiet sound of footsteps behind him. He turned, his heart skipping a beat. Zara stood there, her figure framed by the soft light of the stars outside, her bronze armor gleaming with a subtle glow. She was taller than anyone he had ever known, commanding in stature, unyielding in presence, and yet, today, she looked different. Something had shifted in her eyes. There was a softness there now, an openness that hadn't been there before. Zara, you are thinking of the consequences, aren't you? Elliot nodded slowly, his gaze never leaving hers. His heart pounded in his chest. not from fear, but from something else, hope. The connection between them was undeniable now, stronger than ever, but it didn't make what lay ahead any easier. Elliot, I don't know what happens next. Zara, I only know that I don't want to lose what we've built. She stepped closer, her eyes flicking to the star puff, still nestled in Elliot's hands. It had been with them since that fateful moment when he accidentally proposed to her. Its fur shimmered softly, as though it too understood the gravity of what had passed between them. Zara, we cannot go back, Elliot. This bond, this connection, it is a part of us now, but so are the risks. Her words struck him like a physical blow, but there was no bitterness in her voice, only a matter-of-fact truth. She wasn't afraid of the consequences, but she was aware of them. Suddenly, the lights in the observation deck dimmed, and the ship's systems flickered. A low rumble echoed through the walls, making the floor beneath them tremble. Elliot turned sharply, his instincts kicking in. He was no longer just a cultural liaison. He was part of something bigger, a bond that could change everything, for better or worse. Elliot, what the hell was that? Zara's eyes narrowed as she stepped toward him, her senses on high alert. Zara, I don't know, but whatever it is, it's not a coincidence. Something's happening, Elliot. Something's coming for us. As the rumble intensified, the lights flickered again, and a strange, low-frequency signal hummed through the ship's intercom. The urgency in Zara's voice sent a chill down his spine. Elliot, we need to figure this out. Now. With a swift motion, Zara's hand went to the hilt of her weapon, her posture shifting into a defensive stance. Elliot, unsure of what was happening, instinctively moved closer to her. The bond between them, psychic, emotional, was stronger than ever. If something threatened them, they would face it together. Zara, get ready, human. This is just the beginning. And with that, the tension in the air thickened. The world outside the ship felt a little darker, a little more uncertain, as though the galaxy was about to change again. But this time, it wasn't just the Voryn traditions or the alliance between species at stake. It was their lives, and the bond they had forged against all odds. The door to the bridge slid open. Zara was already moving, her boots clicking sharply against the metal floor. Elliot, heart racing, followed closely behind, ready to face whatever came next. They had no idea what was coming, but one thing was certain: they would face it, together,